Okay, so after we know how to use array list and understand the different method of a array list, so I will give some different examples to let you know how to use them and what's the difference. Um, then we will talk about the difference between array list and array in practice. Okay, so first look at this code. Okay, so if you read this code, first two lines just to tell us we want to create two array lists. One is list one, another is a list two. In here, we use different word to initialize the capacity. Okay, the first one we initialize capacity is 10, and initialize here with empty. Okay, so anyone can tell me what's the difference there? You can pause like 10 seconds, think about it. The big difference is one, we just give the 10, another, we leave empty, but by the default, still be 10. Okay, but here is only capacity, okay, not actual size, okay, because this two, once we create array list, we only reserve capacity in the memory, but with reserve, there's no anyone sit on that specific element. Okay, which means this elements, there's no any value beside. Okay, then we create, we call the method add. Okay, so if you record with array, okay, and the array list. For the array, if you want to add one more, you have to, for example, you have array A, you have to has index 0 if you start with 0, right? So for this one, we just add the specific item, okay, consistency with the data type we create, okay? So this is a list 1, okay? You list 1. The first one is jail, okay? And list 2 is Jack. Okay, the last one we add Susan. Okay, list 2 Helen. List 1 Rachel. Okay, so in this one, give us two informations. First, if you're using the add, it starts with 0 index. Okay, the second, you don't have to check with the index. You just add if you want to add them in the order. Okay, but for the array, you have to check the index in order they add the value in order from 0 to the size, right? Correct. Okay, so next one, we want to add or. Okay, first is using the list A, list 1 to call the add or with list 2, which means we put the list 2 in end of the list 1, okay, which combine list 1 with list 2. Okay, we know the list 1 will be first initial elements, right? Add the list 2 in end of the list 1. Okay, the second one, we try to set, okay, the set Bobby to the index 0. So what's the index 0 in this list? A, list 1. Okay, is jail, right? So we want to jail to be Bobby, right? And return as jail. Okay, so this means the first element we try to set the Bobby. Okay, and the one we just reset. Okay, this previous one we try to put into the previous element. Okay, so let's say another one. We try to remove the elements which contain with David. Okay, so if there's something in this list one has David, okay, we will remove them and return true. Okay, if it's not, so which means this list did not contain the David. Okay, this will return false. Okay, let's do some comparison. Okay, so this comparison we just declare we're using different steps to compare with them. Okay, first the array list. If you declare array, okay, we don't use keyword array. We're using the data type you're trying to declare, right? So here you can use a string, you can use a primitive data type. If you're trying to create an array list, first you need use the keyword array list, okay? And the type you only can use class, not primitive data type, okay? But you can use a wrap class for primitive data type, which is int, okay, capitalized, double capitalized, okay? So 8 different primitive data type, they all have wrapper class, okay? Second, if you're trying to instantiate the array, okay, so you have to sign with the size. Okay, this size cannot be changed during the time once you create this array. Okay, because all the elements initially they will sign with 0 or none, right, by the default, which means all the elements, the 15 elements already be occupied, right, and assigned with actual value. But for the name, for the array list, this only stands for capacity, which means no one reserved that place. Okay, so that's one. If you want to access and reset the value for the array, you're using the index. Okay, and for the array list, if you start with 0, okay, you don't have to put the actual index value there. All right, if you want to replace the previous one, you just using the index, okay, and return the previous one based on this method. Okay, if you want to access, you want to try to retrieve the value in different elements. Okay, we're using the index. Okay, so these two, I think this part is very different. This part is very different. This part is very different. Only similar is accessing to retrieve the value with both of them using the index. Okay, then is how we iterate the array list and array. Okay, so for the array, we're using the property length. So length is basically return the size of this array, right? And using the index to travel every element. Okay, for the array list is different. We're using the method size to return the actual element occupied with value with index. Okay, this part is very similar. This part, okay, you need to know what's the difference with the size and the capacity. Okay, if you want to add one more, okay, we're using the index over here to add. Okay, but because this one is come from 0 to the length, right? So every time you need to do, we check with index, okay? But if you're trying to start with 0 for the array list, you don't have to check with index over there, right? So here's index, but this one you don't have to check because we know this add will start with 0 and to the end, okay? If you want to combine different array, okay, so it's very different. For the array list, if you combine two different array, okay, so basically it's the idea we talk about, we're trying to extend the size of array. We're doing this step, right? But for the array list, we only use one line to combine two different array. Okay, so if we compare these things, I think array list is much easier and more powerful than array, right? Okay, here's some question. You just tell me what's capacity of array list in the code. Okay, and what's the size for this code? Okay, so what's capacity? Capacity is over here, it's 20, right? What's the size? How many elements actual with actual value, right? So it's A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, so basically size 6. Okay, so what's the size over there for the array? This is 21. Okay, because we know once we create this array, all the elements fill with value. Okay, if it's a class, fill with null. Right? How would you create array list of the type? Okay, so with initialize the size of the 17. Okay, I give you 30 seconds. Okay, you can pause for 30 seconds and start a video. Okay, the answer is D. Okay, first of all, you need the initial size of the 17. Okay, that means it's over there. It's capacity. All right, so another one you want to type is cat. Okay, so it's cat 17. You need a keyword array list. Okay, using the bracket. Okay, so I think this is not right. This is not right. It looks like the array, right? So it's not right. This is right, but here you have to use a type, right? Which is a cat. Okay, so for this one have to go here, right? So this is not right. This is not right. This is not cat array. Okay. All right. Another question. What's the printout of this array list? Okay. So I will leave this question to you guys. Okay. Try to figure it out by yourself and tell me the result in the piazza. Okay. Thank you.